Welcome. Thank you for being here. Good evening. This is our Kindness Week themed Courageous Conversation. Um, this year's kindness theme was Kindness, the Ripple Effect. Last year we had this great idea to invite students in to hear student voice and get their take on kindness in our community, kindness in our schools. And it went well last year. And so we decided to, hey, let's bring it back again this year. Last year, we showcased a group of our elementary and middle school students. And so this year, we wanted to showcase more of our high school students. So in just a moment, you will get an opportunity to hear from some of our best and brightest in our high schools this evening. So thank you again for being here. The students will be talking this evening around, again, kindness, the ripple effect, and the conversation is going to be centered around creating a community of connectedness and belonging through kindness. So I'm looking forward to hearing from them. At this time, I would like to just let you know a few things. I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience. Okay, but so as bathrooms are out in the hallway there. We will have refreshments arriving soon, so once they arrive and get set up, please feel free to help yourself. Refreshments will be in the back tables there. At some point, there will be members of the Kenosha Coalition for Dismantling Racism we will pass out cards. It might be myself or another member. If you have a question that you would like to ask, just kind of get our attention and we'll bring you an index card and a pencil, okay? I know this kind of goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Please be respectful of our students and their opinions. This is their voice and their time, and we want to hear from them. So if you have any rude comments, keep it to yourself or I might have to ask you to leave. Okay, I'm protecting y'all, okay? Don't be mad. But this is Kindness Week, so we're not gonna have any of that. We're all here to be kind and hear from our students. But again, truly, I just say that for them because I want them to know that we have their back. I have your back, okay? At this time, I would like to invite up Kirby from Building Our Future. We have had a great partnership with Building Our Future and Kenosha Unified School District, as well as CFDR, all of us partnering together to just help create this community within Kenosha for ourselves and for our students. And so I'm going to have him come on up. So welcome Kirby as he comes, and we'll get started with the program. Thank you so much.
Hey, how y'all doing? Y'all all right? Well, again, thank you so much for being here. My name is Kirby. I'm the Community Engagement Network Manager for Building Our Future. That's a collective impact organization that organizes around education. So our job is trying to bring our entire community together to find ways that we can help our students be successful from cradle to career. One of the principles at Building Our Future is centering the voices of those closest to the problem. And what that means is whenever we seek to solve any problem in society, it only makes sense to make sure that we're including those who are the closest to it. I think oftentimes the way we look at problems is that we try to solve them, from a bird's eye view, and we have no idea what people on the ground are saying or the people that are impacted by the decisions that we make are saying. And so we're really passionate about centering those voices when it comes to solving problems. And so as we look at our school district, as we look at the ways we want to move the needle, the ways we can come together as a community to help our student outcomes improve, it only makes sense to hear from students themselves and understand people that are directly impacted by decisions that we make and things that we do in our community. And so that's the spirit behind organizing an event like this, bringing students to have this conversation so that we can hear from them, so that we can understand what their daily experience is like as a teenager, in school, and moving throughout the various systems of our society. All right? So tonight, in just a moment, I'm going to introduce these students that represent a wide variety of schools, interests, and backgrounds here in our community. We're going to ask some questions. This is a relaxed conversation, okay? So don't feel like pressure. Y'all aren't running for anything. You don't have to prove anything, but it's an opportunity to have a dialogue and for us to ask you all some questions about your experience. So please answer as honestly as you possibly can. Again, I want to reiterate, if you have a question, just raise your hand. Somebody will bring you a card that you can fill out the question and submit it. In the heart of protecting the students, we do want to screen any questions that are coming from the floor. Y'all understand why that's important, I'm sure. Yeah, so don't get offended if I read the card and be like, I'm not going to ask them this. All right? All right, so let's get to it. Y'all ready? Y'all good? All right, I'm going to start on the far side. So let's just begin with an introduction. Tell us your name, grade, and the school you attend.
Okay. I'm AJ. I go to Ruther. And what was the other question?
Great.
What grade are you in?
10th.
I'm Tiara. I go to Jumper High School and I am a senior.
Hi, I'm Anya. I go to Lakeview and I'm a sophomore.
Hi, my name is Gabriella and I'm a senior at Jumper High School.
Hello, my name is Xavier. I'm a 10th grader at Ruther High School.
I'm Azaria Papoy, and I'm a junior at Indian Trail High School and Academy.
I'm Ignacio Perez, and I'm a senior at Indian Trail High School.
I'm Kennedy Kirby and I'm a senior at Indian Trail.
I'm Adrian Wick and I am a junior at Ruther Central High School.
I'm JJ Castro. I'm a current junior at Ruther Central High School.
All right, thank you so much. Give them a hand, please. It'll make these students feel welcome. All right, so the first thing we want to have, the first question to help frame our dialogue tonight is, how can you as high school students build bridges and create strong connections across different social groups and identifies within our school, or within your school, excuse me. Let me ask that again, let me get it right. How can high school students build bridges and create strong connections across different social groups and identities that exist in your school? Okay, second part of that question, do you see that happening already through any initiatives in your school? Okay. All right, so feel free to just raise your hand if you want to respond to that question, and someone will pass you the microphone. Okay.
I feel like the hardest step for a lot of students is reaching out to others and taking that first step, which can be really hard as a lot of kids are kind of anxious about that because of stereotypes of if you belong to one group, you stay in this one group. So reaching out and taking that first step means a lot. And I feel like there are certain groups and initiatives in the schools. At Tremper specifically, they have programs that help freshman students, like incoming students, acclimate to the new environment, which is really helpful.
To sort of add on to that, there's another initiative that they have at Tremper called AAYI, and I know personally that one has helped me connect with a lot of people that are sort of like me, and I don't know, that one is just one that's very appreciated.
So at Indian Trail, student council really came up with how can we better reach the students in the next year. So we came up with a plan of different committees. So one of our committees is called School Culture and Recognition. So through that board, we oftentimes discuss with students from many backgrounds, really how we can recognize underrepresented topics and problems that they may have. So I think that there are initiatives within schools. I don't think they're at the level that they should be, but I think that there's definitely a start.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? All right, thank you so much. So my next question for you all tonight, in our world that's connected digitally, how do we foster genuine in-person connections that go beyond social media interactions and contribute to a stronger sense of community? Pass pass the microphone down to the end there. Thank you.
I think it just begins just talking to your neighbor, talking to your friends, talking to your teacher. That's really it. Talking, just talking.
Oh, here on this end. Oh, that's this one.
So I more so think that people don't have in-person connections, not because they don't want in-person connections, but more so there's not really a space to do that in a school as much. I know at my school at least, our lunch periods are only about a half an hour, and that's not a lot of time, especially to like get to know a person and all of that. I think especially outside of schools and such, there aren't many places for teenagers to meet other teenagers and just make friends and hang out. So I think it's a school issue, but also just a general issue that teenagers tend to just cultivate to the only space they can find, which tends to be online.
I think just being intentional and like making it a goal to reach out to people that you wouldn't necessarily talk to regularly, but just making it something very important to you to just talk to people that you don't usually, or sticking up for people, or having conversations with people about just anything in their life, or just remembering things that are important to people. Even simple compliments, talking about like, hey, how'd you do on your test? Or just being very intentional with every encounter that you have with people, because that builds real, genuine connection.
I think like joining clubs and branching out and finding things that you're interested in and going to clubs to try to find other people who might be interested in that, and just talking to people in there, and don't like not sitting by yourself the whole time, or getting off your phone and kind of getting into the real world a little more and just talking to people in clubs. And
I personally feel like we should start going out more, like using our local communities and what they have to offer. Like going to the library, I go to the library often, and I don't really see my peers there anymore. And I feel like that's something we should start using more, and things that would just help us not be on technology a lot.
Make sure we speak into the mic. That's hard. Thank you.
Just pass it down. I think we have another comment here.
If we wanted to talk about going through meeting people digitally, a lot of kids already use social media as it is, and if that's something we want to tailor to, starting groups through social media, but also bringing it outside of that. Like, I know the school posts a lot on social media about clubs and stuff. I think that's really good for us because it piques interest seeing, oh, our school has this sport or this club or this activity that I'm also interested in. And it kind of piques interests and takes that first step for them.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, how can we celebrate the diverse cultural backgrounds and identities present in our schools while at the same time fostering a sense of shared unity and purpose?
Maybe in schools we can do different like morning announcements they have every morning. We can like announce different holidays or different like cultures every single day. If there's a holiday it comes up, you can just say like happy Hanukkah, happy, so everyone feels included.
Yeah, I agree. I think like being inclusive to everything. Like for example, for our like school spirit week, somebody had brought to light that we didn't do like anything that was Hanukkah related. So I think being inclusive to every single race or culture, like everything that people have going on, not just letting like the normal American traditions take over everything else.
Also, we could have like a culture day where people can dress up like in their culture or ethnic clothes, and then we can also have like a show where people can show like their culture or like make posters and stuff like that.
Anybody else? me ask this question then. Who are your role models when it comes to promoting connectedness, belonging, and racial equity? And what lessons have you learned from them that you can apply to your own actions and leadership as students? Okay, got a hand down toward the end.
One of my role models is one in the crowd, Jimon. He's a really good teacher, and I believe he's done a lot for the school.
Someone who I look up to as a role model that has showed how to really promote connectedness and belonging and racial equity has been Holly Stanfield. She's the theater director for KUSD, and really in the light of the BLM movement and a lot of issues surrounding LGBTQ plus as well, we created a system where we could sit in a circle with people from who really experience this, but also me, myself, who hasn't directly experienced it. It was really good to be in a circle and be able to have discussions about how we all thought about these situations, but also understanding the other side. And it really created a mutual relationship around these different issues and really helped us understand how we could grow from that. And I think that the way that she created this space where we could be vulnerable is something that should be replicated everywhere.
Thank you. Anybody else?
So I'm a part of GSAFE's YAC, which is Youth Activist Coalition. GSAFE is basically just, GSAFE is for the GSAs all across Wisconsin, and it takes kids from all over Wisconsin to be in YAC to encourage LGBT activists and stuff like that. So my role model is basically the facilitator of that, which is TJ or Tyrone. He is really inspiring to me simply because he is not afraid to talk to us about the issues going in. There's a lot of transparency with us, at least, that he talks to us about funding issues and the confusion he feels sometimes, and just generally he is very vocal about how he feels about things, and I admire that about him.
Anybody else want to share? Okay. Next question. How does your identity, whether we're talking about race or ethnicity or gender or orientation, how does it influence experiences with connectedness and belongings at your school? And have you experienced or witnessed exclusion or discrimination based on identity? So I want you to think about your personal experience in terms of your own identity, and have you either witnessed or experienced yourself any discrimination based on that?
I'm so sorry. Could you ask that question one more time?
Absolutely. How does your identity, race, ethnicity, gender, or orientation influence your experience and connectedness and belonging within your school community?
Just based on my personal experience, I guess when it comes to race and the classes that I take, I don't see a lot of kids of color in a lot of classes that I take that are honors or even AP. And there have been times that I have been called names or slurs for my race and whatnot, and I don't know, that's not great, but that's my experience with school, and yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
So
This side.
I've seen it a lot. I don't experience it a lot. Mainly when it comes to gender and orientation. I'm very nonchalant about who I am, but I know people that are more vocal about who they are get ridiculed and like often made fun of and just called too much sometimes. So, and lately, at least in my school, there's been a decline in people coming to our GSA. That's mainly because the teacher that helped run it has left the school district. So, yeah, it's kind of been especially with the freshmen that have income this year, I feel that there's been a lot of mainly homophobia and transphobia, but yeah.
Okay, so I've dealt with a lot of things, like being called very homophobic things. As you can guess, and it's very saddening.
Thank you. Anybody else? Do you all have any thoughts on what we can do to foster better environments where those types of things won't happen?
Certain staff members have a big role in how a lot of the kids perceive certain things. I know that Tremper lost a staff member that was very influential and a lot of kids relied on. So it's very important to have those influential staff members that kind of take that extra step to reach out to students and really care for them and listen to them when they need someone to talk to, when they don't really want to talk to possibly their school counselor or maybe their parents. Someone who isn't as close but still there for them is really important for kids.
Could you ask that again? I'm so sorry.
So do you all have any ideas on how we can foster a better community in our schools where those kind of discriminatory things don't happen to students?
I think holding people accountable to the things that happen, and I know you can't find every single person who might say something mean, but doing something and making sure people know that they're heard when they vocalize these things, and making sure that there's change that does happen when people talk about this type of stuff.
It's definitely a hard situation because obviously not everyone will agree on everything, but when it comes to like creating a city where we are at least accepting of people being humans, people being themselves, I think that a lot of it is generational. I think that a lot of the older generation struggles with the idea of these gender identity or racial problems because they grew up, this is normal, this is how it's supposed to be. So I think now that we're bringing to light these issues, it's definitely, it's a process, and I think that part of it is reaching out to those who are raising up us as a generation, because a lot of the bigotry and a lot of the ideas that are placed in us are brought on by people that are older than us. So it's really about leading and being a leader for that. So I think if people are more leaders on online, Facebook, newspapers, maybe even the cable. I don't know what older generations really do, but you know, just reaching out and showing them that hey, things are changing, and that's okay that things are changing.
If anybody else have a response to that question? You know, when you think about those practical things, what can we do? What can happen in schools to make sure those instances aren't happening?
So I feel what happens a lot of the time with students is they get caught in their own little bubble. Like, their friends agree with them and they only talk to their friends, so they think that all their ideas are right because their friends agree with them. And so do the adults in their life, and a lot of times they'll flock to like social media like influencers and such that also agree with them. So they're just caught in like this bubble that they don't know what's outside of that. They just think that they're right because everything they're seeing and hearing, that because they don't want to go outside of the bubble, is telling them that yeah, that's a right thing to do, that's a good thing to believe, basically.
Making sure that students have a comfortable place to go and making sure that when they do go to the comfortable place, their voices is heard and not misunderstood, and that it's more so a space for them to go and spread their emotions and feelings without being judged. And for that, when you have those type of things, you start saying you're speaking up on more things. And yeah, I feel like that's what people need.
I mean, I could be wrong, but at least from my own experiences, I feel like there's a lot of people that don't really understand that they are being ignorant. And I feel like if there was more talk or mandatory education around these sort of subjects, then maybe this wouldn't be so much of an issue. And kind of like what the other students were saying, there are people in certain circles who talk about their own experiences, about how they misunderstand other people's. I feel like there should be more like, these sort of things should be exposed more, but a lot of people are in circles and don't really understand that these sort of things happen. So I feel like this needs to be like exposed and talked about more often.
Okay, great job. Y'all doing good so far. All right, y'all give that. Yeah. So my next question, and I want the educators in the room to listen up, all right? What role do teachers and school administrators play in fostering a sense of belonging and racial equity within the school environment?
I think right off the bat, this school year, going into my math class, I really enjoyed meeting my teacher because the first thing that she said to us is she doesn't accept any racism or slurs of any kind in her classroom, and everybody's welcome and everybody's loved. And so if you have a problem with anyone being anything or being a specific race, that she can no longer teach them because she will not tolerate people being treated a certain way. And I think just learning in an environment like that where I know like somebody saying something like racist to me isn't going to be tolerated makes me feel comfortable and it helps me thrive in the classroom.
Adding on to what they said, not only can teachers be a very good influence for students and really encourage them to be better and flourish in what they're learning, but without a good teacher, it could have a very negative effect on students. And if, from personal experience, you encounter a teacher who isn't willing to kind of adapt to others and understand students' struggles, it can have a very negative effect on students because they are not encouraged to learn, and then they can struggle in that class, but then they're just blamed because parents believe that it's just them. When the teacher also has a great play in how everything pans out.
I think that since teachers they're in the classroom, and so they're working directly with the students, overhearing things, and I think not brushing things off that they might overhear, and going directly to report like bad behavior or like racism or things like that, is really beneficial instead of just letting things go on over and over, because in the long run it can have really like detrimental effect on students and like drastic measures.
Kind of going off of what everybody has been saying, I think that teachers and our school administrators definitely do play an enormous role in the way that we view these topics. And I think that they are spending the most time with us, so it's important that they're talking to us and educating us about these different topics, but it's also important that we have a space for teachers to talk about this with each other and with administrators, because I think most of the time the sense of belonging and the racial equity that is not in our school environments is a result of the lack of communication between teachers and administrators. So I think that there definitely needs to be a system where administrators and teachers understand, hey, this is a no tolerance school. We need to make sure that we're promoting no tolerance, not just, oh, well, every other teacher is going to put on their door no tolerance. So maybe in this class I might experience something, but in my other class I won't. So I think that it needs to be a unified idea between the schools and between KUSD as a whole.
Any other thoughts? Okay, so just a couple more questions and we'll wrap up for this evening. This one's from the audience. If you were a school administrator, what policies would you require or create for your school?
So first and foremost, there's this thing that makes it really hard for you to like change your name or like put a nickname down. I would like to like get rid of that first and foremost. I've dealt with it 2 times now. In middle school, I wanted to basically go by Adrian, which is 1 letter off of my given name. So I like told teachers this, and then the counselor came up to me and was like, hey, in order to get a nickname down or a name change on Infinite Campus and on attendance and all of that, we need to talk to your parents about it. And that can be a very bad situation very quickly. So I would just like to get rid of that as soon as possible, honestly.
I think that, like we talked about education, about some issues, and understanding when people are being rude or can be ignorant, or I think somewhere here it mentions microaggressions, and I feel like making mandatory education about these things so that kids can understand when they're acting this way or when these issues pop up is very important and could be a good idea for certain classes or homerooms or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone has said so far. Yeah, as I said in my other question, I think that as an administrator, I would first and foremost say that there's no tolerance for any type of bigotry or racism in any of the schools or any of the classrooms. I think after saying no tolerance, it's more than just saying, oh, we're gonna have no tolerance, but helping students understand what is no tolerance. What is no tolerance? So I think that a lot of times in schools, there's a lack of assemblies or like coming to the students and saying, hey, this is what we mean by no tolerance. Oh yeah, we might have an app for bullying, but what is bullying? We might have an app for, oh, I feel like I've been hurt in school, or I feel like I've been threatened, or I feel like I've experienced racism or something has happened to me, but what are those pathways to get it resolved? And I think that a lot of, talking to my peers a lot, they experience things not only in school but on social media, and then that reflects into the school environment, but then there's not clear pathways of, oh, I need to speak to this person to get, oh, this person called me a racist slur, how am I going to fix this? So I think as an administrator, I would make those pathways not only easier but accessible, and make sure that all of the students in my district or in my school understand what no tolerance means and how to resolve situations.
Okay, so final question. And I want everybody to answer this question, all right? Everybody, all right? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Okay. We're gonna start on this end this time. So I want you to That's only fair. We start on the other end at the beginning, so we're gonna start at this end, right?
Ready, TJ.
Okay. If you could change one thing, or let me say it a different way, if you could alleviate one issue for all students across our district, let's say you got a magic wand, right? Let's dream big. What would that one thing be?
I want to say being open-minded. I feel that we put a lot of control into others. Like, I can control what this person believes, I can control what I believe. But truly, I can only control what I believe of myself, whether I'm hurting or that person's hurting. I really think if there was something I could alleviate is believing that we can change other people, we can change what other groups and diversities and cultures believe. I think that we need to be more open-minded, and we have to listen and hear what other people feel, what they have to say and what they have to think, because I think that if we were listening to everyone and being able to accept and control what we can feel, and I think that we can go really far.
So, what I would alleviate? Okay, so I think just like miscommunications as a whole. I'm like, if I could somehow just immediately make it so everybody understood everybody else, like what they were saying, I would. Because, like, so many times there will be kids that are like just joking with somebody, and they'll genuinely think that they're joking with somebody and they're just a playful banter, and the other person's actually just hurt. And so many times there's people that like not exactly take things too seriously, but like don't really communicate the way another person would communicate, so they get misconstrued. So if there was some way to like end miscommunication and all that, I would definitely do that.
I would say making students feel more safe in the schools, whether like, because there's a number of things that stress students out or make them feel unsafe, like school shootings, racism, homophobia, but just trying to eliminate all of that and increasing student safety.
I wrote down one thing that I would want to get rid of is frowns. I think that people are oftentimes so stuck in the world is horrible, everything sucks, and I think that I think if people smiled more and people were more kind to each other, it would be a better place.
What I would eliminate is standards, whether it's a beauty standard or because you look like this, you're supposed to act like this, or you're supposed to dress like this, or you're supposed to have these good grades because you're in this AP class. Just having people like see you as a specific thing, or put you, I don't know, like portray you in a certain way because of who you are. Not letting us be what we want to be, and not letting us even pass the standards or be diverse or different. So I think that school standards, or just standards in general, are just like a box. They hold us back, and I think that if they're eliminated, we can be happy with ourselves, because I know there's lots of like insecurity and competition and stress of having to be better or be the best. So yeah, that's what I would eliminate.
I'd probably eliminate the boring teachers, because I feel like if kids want to do better in class, the teachers have to be motivated and have to motivate the students to also do the work so they can get better grades.
One thing that I would eliminate would probably be stereotypes. Stereotypes hold a lot of people down, and if we want more connectedness, eliminating stereotypes would be a big step, because this also segregates people into groups of certain identities or certain races, and it stops people from connecting with each other.
I think everyone should have a sense of belonging because students do feel out of place in different environments or around different people, and many do get scared of what others would think of them. They might think they're not pretty, cool, smart, and that also fits in with stereotypes because you might feel out of place when you're around different people or different backgrounds or whoever they're around with.
I don't know, this was a hard one for me, but I think if I had to eliminate or alleviate something, it would be the feeling of needing to stay silent in order to survive. I don't know, it's something that I feel like I've internalized, like in order for me to go about my day, I need to be quiet, I need to be silent, otherwise, I don't know, it's just something that's, I don't know, it's just something that I've always kind of dealt with, and I feel like it's something that's been reinforced. I don't really know how, but if I could implement something into school that made it so kids felt that they could speak their mind or their voice more easily, that's probably what I would do.
I think I would like alleviate is I would want more time during school days to talk, cause like you barely get any time. You have a 30-minute lunch period, maybe after the gym, but like there's not really a time to speak. And I hate the phrase where teachers say school isn't for meeting friends or talking, because that's where you meet your longtime friends and meet people you'll know until you're probably in your older ages, whatever. Still, I think we should have more time to talk to each other instead of just having a 30-minute lunch.
So something that was said before was standards. I feel like when you hold someone to a standard, they feel like they can't be themselves and they have to push themselves to be something more than what they are. And that doesn't create a space for them to learn and be open minded. And then it's harder for them to understand and concept things. And it makes it harder, especially for people around me and what I see. It makes it harder for them to understand and focus on one thing. And so I feel like with standards, I would really alleviate that because it doesn't help anyone.
All right, y'all. I said it was the last question. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't lie because it was when I asked it. But we had some audience questions come in that I think it might be helpful for y'all to respond. Y'all mind answering just a couple more questions? Sure. Is that okay? All right. Yeah. Thank them, please. Thank them, please. All right. So here we go. What's one thing each person in this room can do in the next week to better your life as a student in Kenosha?
Definitely what everyone's doing right now. You know, talking, telling their stories, giving their different backgrounds. I think that if you know everyone can just come together and listen to one another, hear just different things, I feel like we can develop more connectivity and just be able to get to defeat like what's going on right now. You know, if we can all understand each other, then why do we have to keep fighting with one another? I just think that if we were able just to work together, listen to one another, and maybe even then become a deeper connection, it might become something beneficial for all of us.
Anybody?
Setting a healthy routine within yourself and with others to connect and communicate, especially with school. If you set a routine with school, you can get things done easier. And then with the routine, you're able to do things outside of school and others, like that's teaching school, they can make time for themselves. And with the routine, it's more just living a healthier life, and people will be more happier and all those type of things.
Anybody else?
I would say communicating. From my freshman year till now, I realized how big communication is and how important it is. Um, like I'm a student council officer, and so I run a committee. I find like being a leader or just even having conflict with someone, you really need to communicate. And I think bottling up what you feel, or just not even like complimenting someone, even though you like their outfit, whatever you do is impactful, and um, expressing how you feel will keep people from being blindsided all the time and having to second guess um, what you are thinking. So I think that communication is very important, and I think this week I'm going to communicate more.
Okay, we have another one. We heard the idea of spaces in schools to help students feel a sense of belonging and comfort. Do these spaces exist at any of your schools currently?
I know of one. It's called GSA. It's I forgot what it stands for, but that's it.
We have AAYI, somebody mentioned it earlier, but I personally like it because it's very motivational to see people that look like me and that want to also succeed. And I think that when we have such horrible, I don't know, standards for people of color, it's hard to want to keep pushing when people are expecting you to fail. And even our advisor, Mr. Nixon, um, he told us that like even if we had like good grades and all this stuff, like people still don't see us as hardworking or see us with potential that we do have. And so I think being surrounded by people that look like me and want to succeed and wanting to work hard so that we can prove people like that wrong is something that I value a lot.
Anybody else want to respond to that question? What have you appreciated about this conversation tonight?
Probably that there's an audience and that there's people who want to listen and there's people that want to take something from this and appreciate what we're saying.
I think knowing that my voice matters and it's not just up to adults being to make decisions like
I liked how everyone laughed at when I was making jokes.
I kind of enjoyed like how there were a bunch of different schools here. I know last year, I think, it was mainly just going to individual schools and talking to a group. I enjoy the sense of like community with not just my school because I do go to a very small school, but seeing how other schools are handling things and that some problems exist only in my school and how some things are a district issue and some things are just an entire like state, national issue. So yeah, I enjoyed how many like schools were here.
I think I learned from this that I shouldn't sell myself short because the second I walked in here, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I literally told Ignacio, I was like, I think you're gonna have to do all the talking because I don't do well talking in front of people. But I think I learned that what I say matters, and even if it's something that might not be agreeable to everybody else, it's good to hear other perspectives. And I think if I was able to share that with any of you guys or impact you in any way, that's why I'm here, and I'm glad that I did it. So.
Like someone mentioned before, it was nice to have like people here to listen to us instead of kind of maybe us just talking to each other. It was nice how people came out and listened to us, and took the time out of their day to be here.
All right, well, again, let's thank our students so much for coming out. Thank y'all so very much for coming out and sharing. Just a few other things. We want to say thank you, of course, to the Coalition for Dismantling Racism. Thank you so much. On the regular basis, they're hosting conversations and working with folks in our community to have these types of dialogues. So thank you so much for being a partner and hosting this conversation tonight. I also want to thank the Kindness Committee for putting together another week of events for us throughout this community all week long. We've been enjoying just this celebration of community and what it means to work together in Kenosha. Also, of course, Building Our Future. I work for Building Our Future. Some of our other team is here. Thank you so much for being here and for working to make this event a success as well. To school leadership at KUSD, thank you so much for working with us and helping and providing for these students tonight, for sharing their time with us and being here this evening. To the Civil War Museum staff, thank you so much again for hosting this space. You guys always do an amazing job. Thank you so much. Listen, y'all, there is food in the back. Take a moment, meet and encourage some of these students when we finish up. And yeah, let's share some other things together in terms of food. Just a couple community announcements and we'll close out tonight. The next Courageous Conversation hosted by the Coalition is going to be on February 8th, and the guest speaker will be Dr. Roger Moreno, speaking on the continued urgency and need for anti-racism work. I also want to announce the Youth Voice Project that Building Our Future leads has a town hall candidate forum coming up March 13th, where students will create an event, create questions to interview or ask all of our school board candidates. So all of you who are voters, come out. It'll be at Indian Trail High School's auditorium. That's going to be March 13th at 6 p.m. If you're on social media, we'll be sharing stuff about it. If you're part of our Youth Voice Project, just wave your hand. A few of the students here are part of that project. Yeah, so come out. They create all the questions. They put the whole event together. And it's another opportunity to hear youth voice connected to what's happening in our schools. Thanks again. Thank you so much to Yolanda, who continues to organize this event for our school district. All right, everybody, have a great night. Please partake of some of the snacks in the back before you get out of here, and make sure to encourage these students.